Welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Rewind, where we discuss the happenings of the Monday Night Wars between Nitro and Monday Night Raw. And we are on May 6th of 1996. And to start off, we have Pepe's Outfit of the Week. This is one of our last Pepe recaps.
Yep.
He's wearing a sailor outfit, very snazzy. But the first match for Nitro is Hugh Morris versus Macho Man. Hugh Morris attacks Macho Man during his entrance.
Morris, obviously, like you said, he attacked Macho Man, as he was doing his entrance, so he still had his jacket on. So Savage, once he recovers, he says, screw this. He gets his jacket on and chokes Morris with the jacket.
Yeah, but he throws him over the top rope.
Pretty brutal. Like, when Morris was, selling, he was passing out, I was like, I can see someone passing out.
Yeah, and he actually lets go. A lot of times they'll hold the rope to kind of make sure they don't actually get choked. But Morris actually lets go and kind of dangles for a second. That was similar to the Shawn Diesel match that happened a week ago. Mm-hmm. So this is another instance of one of the promotions copying the other.
Yeah, it's interesting. They do a lot of similar things.
The timing's too similar or too close to be it's just a coincidence. But anyways, after he brings Hugh Morris back in the ring after hanging him essentially, and then he hits the flying elbow drop. And then he goes to pin Morris by just putting his foot on him. But the ref shoves Macho Man for whatever reason.
Because he choked, and the ref's like, what are you doing? That's not against the rules. And the Savage is like, really? But he slaps the ass and taste out of him.
But yeah, he slaps him, and then he scoop slams the ref.
And then as this whole thing's going on, the MFer with the bell will not stop ringing it. It's just really grating on the ears to hear the bell ring. That's something they should have not done.
This psychopath just body slammed the referee!
It was a few dings, that's it,
Yeah, this is the second or third Macho Man match we've seen where they've done this.
I don't know, to me it's hard to immerse myself in it when I can't hear that effing ringing.
Yeah, well, I think with the bell ringing, it kind of doesn't let the moment breathe.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But anyways, so after he does a second elbow drop, other refs come in, but eventually the police, along with other WCW officials, come in and escort Macho Man out of the building.
Those WCW police don't mess around.
For Raw, we open up with a quick video of a woman whose body is blacked out, kind of doing the anonymous scoop thing that you see in the news sometimes. But she is talking about Shawn Michaels being a homewrecker and says he ruined her life and she would tell us about it today. But the first match we have is the 1-2-3 Kid versus Mark Mero with Sable. And Triple H is on commentary for this one. And we see footage on Superstars of Triple H pedigreeing Mark Mero during a match with the 1-2-3 Kid. Triple H on commentary says that in your house, he will leave a mark on the wild man. And he says Sable is used garbage and he has 10 more women ready to take her place.
Yeah, he's still a little salty about Sable leaving.
What are you talking about? He just said he's not.
Nah, he a little salty.
I'll go ahead and get to the ending for this one. Mero goes to the top rope, but Triple H comes up and he causes Mero to fall down and land on the turnbuckle, groin first. Kid goes for a superplex, but Mero reverses it and he kind of lands on 1-2-3 Kid for the win. It kind of looks a little awkward to me.
It does look awkward. There's some communication issue, I guess. It just didn't come off smooth.
It did not at all. But Mero poses with Sable afterwards, and then we go to footage of Savio Vega challenging Stone Cold to a Caribbean strap match. DiBiase says they will accept the match, but if Savio loses, he will have to be DiBiase's personal chauffeur.
They aired a video of a woman. They censored her face, and she claims she cheated on some wrestler she was with Shawn Michaels. HBK is a homewrecker, and she talks about how great HBK is in bed. Because even when you want to do a story on Shawn Michaels, you got to talk about how good he is in bed because he's the face.
Yeah, she says it got so heated, and he was downright hot, and he smelled so good and was so gorgeous that they went to bed and he was the best she ever had. So they just went over the top.
Yeah, it was over the top. It's you're trying to put Shawn over, but I don't think you could do this now because having that accusation on your top babyface probably isn't a good idea.
No, but also the woman finishes up by saying that her husband found out about her affair and that caused him to lose his match against Shawn Michaels. And she says Shawn used her and knew she couldn't resist him and he ruined everything. But they just went way overboard with it.
Yeah, what a stud. I think Vince wrote that promo. The lines.
He probably did because he kind of, what the stuff he says on commentary about Shawn, yeah, that sounds like stuff he'd say. But let's go to the second match for Nitro. It is Dean Malenko versus Jushin Thunder Liger with Sonny Ono. And during the match, Ric Flair comes out with Woman and Miss Elizabeth wearing a tuxedo, and he has a little VIP section that's about midway down the entrance ramp where they sit and have champagne and grapes, just living the high life. With this one, let's just get to a finish. Malenko, he actually, well, it isn't the finish, but I do like his top rope gut buster that he hits. So Malenko does hit the top rope gut buster, and then he goes for a reverse powerbomb instead of doing a pin. But Liger reverses it for a 2 count, but then Malenko eventually wins with a Tiger Bomb.
Yes, double underhook powerbomb.
So that is that. But yeah, like I said, a decent match, but there's really no storyline here. It just is you two go out and wrestle, but it's pretty good, pretty good. But the second match for Raw is Fatu versus the British Bulldog with Jim Cornette and his wife Diana. Of course, during this match, we get the typical Rikishi sell on a clothesline. Bulldog clotheslines Fatu, and he does his always nice selling job with that. During this match, we do get to see some family members of Fatu. They are watching the match. One of them is Rosie. If you don't know who Rosie is, that is actually Roman Reigns' brother. He unfortunately passed away, but it is his brother. And I didn't realize that he came to WWE this early because I know him more like 2002, 2003 with 3 Minute Warning.
Yeah, the 3 Minute Warning / tag team with Hurricane. Yeah, but what's funny is I hadn't seen any of these people like at least in recent WWE program before, and I hadn't seen them after this segment.
I think I've seen him twice, and that was it.
There is a spot where Bulldog low blows for too, like Ric Flair style. You know, Ric Flair does it, but it looks like the ref is looking right at him.
I know. But for the finish, Bulldog hits the running power slam for the win. And then after the match, we see a dejected Fatu approach his family, and they are not happy with him. And Fatu tells him they ain't his family. The WWF is his family, and he walks off. So we'll see where this goes. Spoiler alert, it goes nowhere.
Nowhere.
I'm going to go over to Nitro and do the interview with Ric Flair and Woman with Miss Elizabeth. But Ric Flair just talks about, how good his life is. He says he parked his Learjet next to John Travolta and checked into the finest hotels, but he came here to see what the regular people are doing. He says the Giant got lucky, and the next time he faces the Giant will get hurt. He then moves his attention on to Savage, and he says Savage will have a match with him against Arn Anderson and Eddie Guerrero at Slamboree. But Flair tells Savage that he will be eliminated, and then Flair says there's a killer blonde in the crowd that would love to have a drink with him, and he calls on Deborah McMichaels, and he says he will be across the street at the bar all night long. He then hands Deborah a drink, but she dumps it on the ground, quite wasteful.
Rude.
And Flair tells Deborah that he understands she is from Texas, and before the night is over, she will find out why they call him an all-around cowboy.
Oh,
and then
Flair.
Miss Elizabeth is just like, guys, we don't have to worry about the champagne since Randy has lots of money.
Bro, she goes, it's so funny how she always just rails on Savage.
Yeah, Flair does the same thing. He tells Savage that they're going home in his blue Porsche. That must be his beloved car.
And then after this, they do a vignette for Glacier. He is still a long ways from white.
Yeah, they do Glacier teasers. This is kind of like the Veer teasers for Raw that they were doing for a while. Yeah. It just kept going forever. But the third match for Nitro is Lord Steven Regal versus Sting. And Regal is still wrapped up from last week's battle with Bruiser, so he's still hurting. Bischoff during the match says that since Bruiser is hurt, Bruiser and Regal were supposed to team up at Slamboree, but since Bruiser is hurt, Regal will team up with David Taylor at Slamboree, which is mighty convenient for him since that's his tag team partner.
Yeah, it's convenient for them. Public Enemy, I believe, gets together. It's just a lot of coincidences for this lethal lottery.
Mm-hmm. But the finish for this match, it was kind of unique. I have a clip of it. I don't really know how to explain it.
Regal goes for the Tiger Suplex, but then Sting flips him. He basically uses him and then flips him, and then he pins him.
But that's that. This is not the best match between Regal and Sting. They will have a better match here later. Yeah, they actually get somewhat of a mini feud. But that is that for the third match of Nitro. Let's go to the third match of Raw, which this will be very quick. We have Techno Team 2000 versus the Body Donnas with Sonny. And the Body Donnas are the tag team champions at the time, if that would tell you how bad the tag team division is at this time.
But anyway, Body Donnas go over.
During the match, they do have a segment with the New Rockers backstage, and Vince asks them if they are nervous about their tag team title opportunity. And Leaf says they're not nervous; they're the New Rockers. Of course, Leaf Cassidy says it in the dumbest way possible.
Leaf Cassidy's corniness is really good.
Yeah, he's just so oblivious to everything.
He's so oblivious and so just cool. The Body Donnas eventually go over. I hate Zip's finish. He jumps from the turnbuckle and sits on you. But it looks like it has no impact because obviously he's safe and doesn't want to hurt the opponent.
is bad. And in Techno Team 2000, I mean, what a DOA gimmick. I mean, awful.
I don't know if the tag team division was ever worse than it was in '96.
I mean, it simply can't be. The only decent tag team they have right now in the WWF at this time is the Smoking Guns.
Yep.
There will be better times for this tag
they
division coming up.
upgrade the tag division.
But after this match, we do get a backstage interview with Vader and Jim Cornette. Jim Ross tells Vader and Cornette that on May 26th, Yokozuna will be 100%. Cornette says, nah, Yokozuna will never be 100% because he is a 600-pound man with a bad wheel, and Vader has more heart and desire than Yokozuna. And Vader is quicker. His heart is blacker than Yokozuna. Cornette moves on to the Duke the Dumpster Droese match that Vader will have. And he says, next week is time to take out the trash, and Duke the Dumpster's future doesn't look too good.
Spoiler alert, he was right.
But it's main event time, baby. So big main event for Nitro this week. It is Lex Luger versus the Giant with Jimmy Hart for the WCW Championship. Hold on, but wait a minute. Luger's not here yet. He's not in the arena. So we cut to commercial just to give Luger some time. So we come back for a commercial and Hacksaw Jim Duggan comes out. Hacksaw has offered to take Luger's place. That must be nice that Hacksaw was the first in line there.
Yeah, Hacksaw must be waiting in a gorilla. He was like, man, if something happened, I'm going out. Tough guy.
So unfortunately, instead of having a much better looking main event of Luger versus Giant, we have Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus a Giant for the WCW title. So this is quick. It doesn't take long. Hacksaw is quickly squashed by the Giant. Giant wins with a choke slam. After the match, he choke slams Duggan again. Cobra comes out, only to get choke slammed, as well as the highly esteemed Cuban Assassins and Alex Wright. They catch choke slams too. I have no clue who the Cuban Assassins are. I believe that's the first time I heard of them.
Bro, I don't think we've seen them before.
They were just there to catch a choke slam.
Yeah.
But Ric Flair runs down and hits the Giant with one of them wood chairs, but it doesn't knock him down.
I hate those wood chairs.
Yeah, I hate all the chairs. WCW doesn't use good chairs most of the time.
Eventually, they will.
But Sting also comes out, and he gets on a turnbuckle, and he dives for the Giant's leg, and then he eventually gets the Giant down. He goes for the Scorpion Deathlock, and he gets it after a while. He takes him a while to turn him over. But Jimmy Hart comes in and hits Sting with the megaphone, which makes Sting let go of the Scorpion Deathlock, and then the Giant goes after Sting, but Luger runs down to the ring with his briefcase, and he looks frustrated. Dadgummit, he just got here too late.
Well, he got stuck in traffic.
And what he's wearing is truly something that you have to see.
The 90s bodybuilder aesthetic.
So Giant and Jimmy Hart leave, and then we have a quick in-ring interview with Luger and Sting. Gene asks Luger where he's been, and then Sting echoes Gene's question. Sting tells Luger he was supposed to be here, and he's starting to wonder about him being scared of the Giant. Sting says Luger has missed the past 2 opportunities to face the Giant. This also happened on a Saturday night show. Luger then asks Sting if he thinks he's scared of the Giant, and the show ends with them kind of arguing amongst each other. So that is Nitro. We ran out of time.
WCW loves doing that thing. Oh, we're out of time.
So the main event for Raw is The Undertaker versus Owen Hart with Jim Cornette. We do see Goldust come down to the commentary table, and he gets close to Vince, and Vince is clearly not a fan. And funnily enough, Goldust came prepared. He has a gold headset.
Nice touch. He is informed, though, as he is on commentary.
He gets told there's a casket match. He's like, what? He's like, I'm not doing a casket match. He yells at Marlena. He's like, I'm not doing a casket match. And then he goes to leave. Then Undertaker's music hits, and then he sits right back down. During the match, Goldust is talking with Marlena, and he's talking about the Undertaker when he says this. He says, look at the look of death on his face. He is so tall, cold, and clammy, and I just want to touch and feel him. And then Vince asks Goldust, how bizarre are you? And Goldust says, you don't want to know how bizarre I am. True? I don't think I do want to know.
Probably true.
Don't think I want him. But for the match, when you get an Owen Hart match, I mean, Undertaker too, but Undertaker this time was still working that slower pace.
Yeah, it's not a bad match. It's just your standard 1996 WWF Raw main event match.
I'll go to the end here. Undertaker tosses Owen out of the ring near Goldust, and then Goldust tries to put Owen Hart back in the match, but he grabs Owen Hart by the keister, and Owen takes exception to that. So Undertaker then grabs Owen Hart's head and brings him back into the ring, and then he hits a jumping tombstone for the win.
Yeah, he put some stank on that tombstone.
And then after we see Paul Bearer wheeling down a casket, and Goldust, he's trying to leave, but his back is facing towards the entrance ramp. He doesn't see Paul Bearer coming, so he backs into the casket, and the casket is painted gold, and Goldust freaks out and runs away as Undertaker poses with the urn to end the show.
Good ending. What should you
That's
think?
a May 6th. I think for this one, I'm actually going to go Raw.
I stuck with WCW. I did think it was a good episode of Raw. And this one is a very interesting rating. Raw took the win. With this one, it was 4.1 to 1.9. This is the first 4 rating that we have seen for a show that when they've ran head-to-head.
True. Yeah, none of the people in the main event for WrestleMania are even here. So yeah, it is surprising. Maybe, you know what it was, Jay? It was that uncensored. People still got that uncensored match in their heads.
Oh, they got that stink. Yeah, you're probably right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's fair. That's fair.
That is a very fair opinion to have.
But yep, so I go Raw, you go Nitro, and the people said Raw, so you're just not with the people.
The humanoids.
So, right. We'll go to May 13th of 1996, and Bischoff to start the show says Lex Luger is here this week for the title shot after missing his last 2 against the Giant, and we see footage of Lex Luger camping out at the arena to make sure he is here.
It's hilarious. And he has like a fly swatter, and he like swats out a fly.
I know he's like reading a magazine.
Yeah, he has a magazine. It's just a funny visual.
But the first match for Nitro is Public Enemy versus the Steiner Brothers. And Bischoff does say that Savage is barred from the arena today. And this match, typical, you get the Steiners throwing Public Enemy around for a while. Of course, all their suplexes look impressive as hell.
I don't know. This match didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, but the finish for this one is Scott Steiner hits the Frankensteiner for the win. Again, we're just trying to push the Steiner brothers. And Public Enemy kind of is your lower card, lower mid tag team. They're just not going to be the team that runs the tag team division.
No, they are somewhat over at this point, and credit to them. It's the beginning of like the extreme ECW, because obviously they got fans that like them from ECW. So you get a little bit of the extreme, but as a retrospective viewer, they just don't.
Yeah, not the most exciting matches. Well, I'll go to the first match for Raw. It is Skip with Zip versus Ahmed Johnson. Sonny does not join the Body Donnas on the way out, notably. We'll see what happens.
Vince inquires, even on commentary, where she is.
We do get an interview. Jim Ross interviews Ahmed before the match, and he asks him if Skip being with Zip concerns him. And he says, Ahmed says Jeff Jarrett's guitar didn't stop him and Bulldog didn't stop him. And while he's talking, Sonny comes up and rubs baby oil on Ahmed's chest and says he missed the spot. Ahmed tells Sonny he's heard about her, but he doesn't mess with poison, and his mama told him to take the trash out and not to bring it in. Burn, Sonny.
Got him.
Which, to be fair, Sonny, you turned out to be a despicable person.
I mean, yeah, it's very tragic what happened to Sonny.
But for this match, of course, it's Zip versus Ahmed. This is going to be an easy match for Ahmed. Ahmed hits the Pearl River Plunge for the win. I don't think we really need to go too into the weeds.
The only thing else I would add is next for WWF, we get this lovely video. We see the Ultimate Warrior without face paint, and he talks about Warrior University. When I first saw this, I thought it was just like a gimmick. But no, he legit had a wrestling school, Warrior University. So basically, he was trying to say, you train with me, you'll get to WWF, which as a wrestling trainer, you don't ever probably want to say that.
And the thing is, Ultimate Warrior ain't the guy to be training wrestlers, let's be real.
No, at least not in the 90s. In the 80s, yeah, Warrior probably could have trained you.
The Warrior University is not anything that's going to be related to WWE.
Yeah, we looked it up. Apparently, obviously, as a condition to get the Warrior to sign, Vince McMahon had to promote Warrior University and Warrior's comic books.
Those both have nothing to do with WWE. The Warrior, just like Vince, I'm going to put my shit in too, okay?
And Vince was so desperate for star power at this time.
Yep, he did it. So, yep, we get that. But then the second match for Nitro is Squire David Taylor with Jeeves versus Chris Benoit. And during this match, we see footage of Macho Man outside of the building being denied entry. Mongo comes out to speak with Macho Man, and he tells Macho Man that Flair made it personal, and he understands where Macho Man is coming from, and he tells Flair that he's going to get him, and then he tells Savage to wait outside. He has a plan. So we will see what that plan is. But for the match, it is a short match. Dave Taylor actually gets an electric chair drop on Benoit, which I always like. An electric chair drop.
A few nice European uppercuts.
And then Benoit wins with a dragon suplex. Then we have an interview with Macho Man afterwards. Mean Gene tells Macho Man that he has lost his mind. Macho Man tells him that he hasn't seen crazy yet, and he is going to take the WCW and turn it upside down. He says he doesn't care about the money. Gene reminds Macho Man that he would have to coexist with Flair in the lethal lottery at Slamboree. Macho Man says he doesn't have a problem with Dragon Flair and doing everything he has to do to get to Flair. And then he goes on into a story about visiting a female psychiatrist, and she told him he had OCD, which stands for one cool dude.
One cool dude.
And then after this, we get our weekly Glacier vignette. So add another one to the count. But the second match for Raw is Duke the Dumpster Droese versus Vader with Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette last week said it wasn't going to be a good week for Dumpster. Let's see what happens. Cornette is on commentary during the match. But it turns out this was indeed not a good week for Duke the Dumpster Droese because Vader wins this match with a Vader bomb. I was surprised to see Dumpster get Vader down with like a clothesline and stuff.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, Vader during this time was too allowing. Like, you're supposed to be like a main event guy, and you're giving people like Droese, like people like Henry Godwin suplex you.
Like, they're treating him like a monster on commentary, but the matches and how they play out, for the most part, he doesn't get treated as an unstoppable monster.
He's like barely winning some matches, and it's only some matches he's winning because of interference.
So it kind of seems to be a disconnect between the commentary and the matches sometimes. But we all know how Vader's run turned out. Yep. But I mean, he wins this match. It wasn't that long. The next part of Raw, before we get to the next matches for both shows, is we do have an in-ring segment with Vince McMahon and The Undertaker and Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer says that at In Your House, Goldust loves the spotlight, but at In Your House, he will cross over to the dark side. And they brought a special casket for him. That's nice that they went ahead and painted gold to make him feel at home.
Yep.
Yeah. Vince asks Undertaker, how will he contend with Goldust's bizarreness? Undertaker says he intends to immortalize Goldust. That, I don't know if I'd like to hear that if I was Goldust.
I know, right?
Goldust apparently didn't like it either. He wants further explanation. He comes down to the ring with Marlena, and he gets on the mic, and Goldust, I guess, he's not intimidated because he starts talking about how Undertaker is so tall, dark, clammy, and he's so stiff. He sniffs at the Undertaker and he asks him, what scent is that? Is that embalming fluid number 5? That got a chuckle out of me.
Yeah, I liked his innuendos.
He tells the Undertaker he can lay with him in the coffin anytime, and there will be no resting once they are in there. And he has never danced with the devil in the pale moonlight, but he will try anything once. He then grabs the Undertaker's hands and he asks him if he knows what rigor mortis is. And then the Undertaker, I guess, kind of grabs his hands and he makes Goldust get on his knees.
Yeah, because he squeezes his hand. Goldust begging him to stop, and then Mankind attacks the Undertaker from behind and applies that paralyzing nerve hold, the mandible claw.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it in one of our other episodes. They do a good job getting this mandible claw over. Mm-hmm. But then, as Mankind has the mandible claw on the Undertaker, Goldust is like stroking Mankind.
Yeah, odd.
And then Undertaker he's passed out. So Mankind releases the hold and Goldust stands over the Undertaker, and then he takes off his robe in the seductive manner that he does. And then he lays on top of him, but the Undertaker sits up and scares Goldust away. I like this segment.
He wanted Undertaker to rise, just not in that way.
Yes, that's not the thing he wanted to be at attention, let's just say. But this was because I like this segment.
Yeah.
So it worked. And also, like, you do a good job building the Goldust Undertaker match, and then you also remind people, hey, by the way, this Mankind character, he's not done with the Undertaker yet.
Not for a while.
So as JR would say, that's a good piece of business. But let's go to the third match of Nitro. It is VK Wall Street versus Ric Flair with Woman and Miss Elizabeth. Yeah, I guess Deborah's not here this week because Flair does not flirt with Deborah this week. And for the finish, because I don't want to go blow by blow for this match, Flair wins with the figure 4. Woman helps Flair gain extra leverage by holding his arms. So that's the finish. And then afterwards, we have an interview with Ric Flair. Flair says nobody has thought nicely about him since he gave Dolly Parton tickets to Space Mountain. Flair kind of also rubs it into Macho Man some more. He kisses Elizabeth all over her arm. And he asks Gene if it looks like he's dead. Flair, I think you're doing all right.
And he even says he's going to spend more of Macho Man's money. He said he's going to get a new tuxedo, and the girl's going to be dressed to kill, and they will not WCW on his ass.
Gene asks Flair about Deborah, and Flair responds saying that D lineman wants to talk to Joe Namath. He's referring to himself as Joe Namath. He tells Mongo to look at his wide receivers, which is Woman and Miss Elizabeth, and he tells him if he wants some, then to bring it. So the third match for Raw is Aldo Montoya versus Justin Hawk Bradshaw with Zebekiah. Zebekiah joins them on commentary, and he says that some people in the WWF are afraid to step in the ring with Bradshaw, and he says Shawn Michaels is one of them. And he tells Aldo Montoya he is on trial because he is in Bradshaw court, and when you step in Bradshaw's county, there is no law. which if there's no law, then why is he on trial?
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, that makes no sense.
Contradiction.
Yeah. But again, this is Bradshaw just trying to be Stan Hansen. Again, we're not going to go blow by blow for this because it's not the most exciting thing.
Oh, yeah. Ultimate Toy for Bradshaw? No.
So Bradshaw wins with the clothesline. They are not calling it the clothesline from hell yet. That's not going to be till, I think, Ministry Undertaker?
Probably. Or the Acolytes. Right before.
After the match, Zebekiah gets in the ring and he brands Aldo Montoya. I really hate the brand stamp thing they do.
Yeah.
The hog tie stuff is fine.
The wrestler doesn't even sound like it hurts, you know?
No. The hog tie is fine. You could do that because that's actually like embarrassing them to be hog tied, humiliating them. So that actually works. But the branding then just kind of makes it look goofy. I'll go to the main event for Nitro. We finally get it. We tried it a couple times, but Luger's here. We get Lex Luger versus the Giant with Jimmy Hart for the WCW title. Typical Giant match at this time is the opponent tries to get Giant down. They can't get him down. They try to scoop slam him, but they can't. The Giant's just too dang big. So that formula holds true for the beginning part of this match too. That whole thing gets repeated for a while. And Luger later on even hits his flying forearm, which, he's got a metal plate in that forearm.
And what's
but the Giant still won't go down.
And I was going to say, after he hits the forearm, Bischoff on commentary mentions that, obviously it's a reinforced steel forearm, but he said he hit it on Yokozuna. So I thought it was really interesting. They mentioned a rival storyline to kind of put over the forearm.
Yeah, and especially this time, I could see it maybe when WCW got cocky when they were winning the war, but at this point, they're not winning it. So it is kind of random or notable that they mention him.
Yeah.
He's putting over Yokozuna there. After the forearm thing, we do see Flair is at the VIP table. The Giant later brings Luger over to the VIP table, and he choke slams Luger through it as Flair retreats to the crowd. Jimmy Hart jumps on Giant's back to get him to stop because he still likes Luger, even though he's with the Giant. So he's still, he's like, don't hurt my friend. The Giant and Hart leave together as Sting comes out to check on Luger, and then we see medical personnel checking on Luger, and they are selling it like this guy's hurt pretty bad.
They're selling it like the Shawn Michaels incident. Commentary is like somber about it.
Mm-hmm. Gene is there to kind of interview Sting, but Sting shouts at Gene, not right now. Luger slowly gets up, and we end the show recapping and showing replays of the choke slam to the table. So I guess it's either a no contest or Lex Luger wins by DQ. So no title change or anything.
I have it as a double count out.
Oh, okay. A non-finish anyway. Mm-hmm. But let's go ahead and finish the Raw. So for Raw, before the main event, we do see footage of Bulldog and Shawn during the Kuwait tour that they're at. And we see Bulldog and Shawn at the beach, but Bulldog tosses Shawn into the ocean, and he kind of like shoves his head underwater at the beach, and he just beats him up at the beach.
That's a funny visual. It's a funny visual.
It's just weird to see someone get beat up while they're in the ocean. That's just kind of trying to build up that Shawn Bulldog title match that we got going on soon. But the main event for Raw, which this will become a much better match later, is Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels is with Jose Lothario. And to my knowledge, this is the first time Shawn Michaels and Triple H have wrestled each other on TV. Triple H, of course, comes down with a nice, pretty lady, and she is sitting next to King, and King tells her that she needs to stay away from Shawn Michaels.
He's just protecting her
from
that deviant.
But during the match, we do see Mr. Perfect come out to the aisleway, and he's looking on at the match. And this is teasing his future involvement with Triple H. They'll be working together a little bit here soon.
They teased that for a while too.
Mm-hmm. The commentators say that Bulldog is watching this match in the back.
Triple H goes for the pedigree, but he gets reversed. And he does get slingshot into the ring post, which I did like that. Followed by Shawn Michaels flying forearm. Eventually, Triple H goes for pedigree again, but Shawn flips him and then hits Sweet Chin music.
I thought the sell from Triple H was pretty good in that Sweet Chin music, I thought.
Yes, it was.
So Shawn Michaels does win. After the match, we go to Bulldog, who was with Jim Ross. And Bulldog says Shawn has a lot of nerve to commentate on this match next week. Oh, yeah, by the way, Shawn Michaels is going to be commentary during Bulldog's match next week. And Bulldog tells Shawn Michaels that he might not make it to In Your House. And he says, if you come near my wife, I will knock your head off your body. And we end Raw. All right, so who do you have winning this week? I have WCW winning this week.
Yes, I have WCW. Yeah.
Now, I do think that the best segment for me on both sides was the Undertaker and Goldust segment.
Either that
Yeah,
or the giant choke slam on Luger.
True. I feel like even though the matches weren't great on WCW, they still were at least entertaining, besides maybe the VK Wall Street Ric Flair match.
Yeah.
Whereas the majority of matches on Raw, not really entertaining.
So we're both in agreement. So the audience, though, they said Raw won 3.5 to 2.3.
Well, let's get on to it. Next, we will go to May 19th of 1996. It is Slamboree.
No.
Yes, it is. And there are 15 matches on this show, so forgive us. Most of these we're not going to go over blow by blow.
Okay, so what we should do, if it's not storyline related, who cares? Slamboree starts off. It's Animal and Booker T versus Hawk and Lex Luger.
And so, of course, the big attraction for this match is we want to see Animal and Hawk get in the ring together.
And they teased it several times. They never locked up. They never got into it. Eventually what happens is the Road Warriors just attack their own teammates, and the match is thrown out, and there is no winner, so nobody gets to advance.
Yep. This match ends with a double count out, and this is a tournament, so that means both these teams do not advance. They're both out, so a couple teams get first round buys. Yeah,
it's like 2 rounds, and then after that, it's a battle royal. And then the winner is the Lord of the Ring, winner of Battle Bowl, and you're supposed to get a title shot against the Giant.
This pay-per-view is still not great, people, but it's better than uncensored. So, I mean,
wow.
At least there's that. Yeah, so the next match is Public Enemy versus the Taskmaster and Chris Benoit. Yes, and of course, like we mentioned, some people are lucky. They get to be with their tag team partner. Public Enemy just had some stroke backstage, that's all.
Yeah, and Kevin Sullivan and Benoit haven't been getting along, so we're going to see if they can coexist.
Spoiler, they don't. One thing I did not like in this match, though, was that Taskmaster hits Rocco Rock with a chair, but it's not a folding chair, it's not a wooden chair, it's a school chair that cannot fold.
Oh, yeah, dude, that was bad.
It looks so bad. The optics and aesthetics just do not look good when you hit someone with that kind of chair. Yes, it would hurt in real life, I understand that, but it does not look good or impressive.
It's not aesthetically pleasing.
No.
But basically, there's a spot where Benoit is on a table, and then as Public Enemy likes to do, they like to flip and put people through tables. Sullivan, it looks like he goes to pull Benoit, but for some reason, it looks like he's just holding Benoit down. Now, he couldn't be hurting causing his own teammate to get put through a table.
You're saying that Taskmaster wasn't trying to pull him off, he was holding him down on purpose?
That's what it appeared to me. I'm not 100% confident. After replay, I'm convinced that Sullivan did it on purpose.
But Sullivan sells a knee injury. I think his knee was just hurt.
He could have had a knee injury.
Yes, the Public Enemy then roll Benoit to the ring, pin him. So Public Enemy advances.
I was surprised to see Public Enemy win.
I thought Taskmaster and Benoit would win at least one match. I knew eventually they would not coexist.
I thought maybe he would screw him over the next match or something. But no, right off the gate, he's like, nope.
But the third match we have is Sergeant Craig Pittman with Teddy Long and Scott Steiner versus the Booty Man with the Booty Babe and Rick Steiner. So we did not get Animal and Hawk to do anything against each other. Will the Steiners. And if you know the Steiners, you know they're game for it. So they actually do get in the ring together, and they do have a couple tie-ups. Scott wins the first round. Rick Steiner wins the second round. And the third round is a stalemate.
Can you imagine how mad the crowd would have been if the Steiners didn't lock it up? Like, right, you didn't give me the Road Warriors. Oh, we also forgot to mention, that is also the last time you're going to see the Road Warriors in WCW.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, true. An unceremonious exit.
Unceremonious exit, man. That WCW tag division was heating up with all the hot names in it. The Warriors were already gone.
And at least their tag division still leagues better than WWF.
Yeah. It's a big loss, but man, their tag division is still stacked.
So then they both then suplex each other some more. It's pretty good spots with them. I know we do later in WCW, but I wish that we did get a match between these two at this time as well.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
But for the finish, Rick Steiner tags on Booty Man, and then Scott Steiner tags on Pittman. Pittman gets Booty Man in the Code Red armbar, but Booty Man gets to the ropes, and he tags back in Rick because apparently Booty Man can't do anything in this match.
Booty Man was terrible this match.
Yes, he's terrible always. Well, Jared, guess what? You got to see him again because Rick Steiner hits Pittman with the German suplex for the win. So Rick Steiner and the Booty Man advance. So for the next match, we got the Blue Bloods versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan and VK Wall Street. So it looks like the Blue Bloods got some stroke backstage too.
Yep.
Again, with Hacksaw, you get the typical USA stuff and then some good character work from Regal. But during this match, Hacksaw goes to tag VK Wall Street, but Wall Street refuses to tag in.
Hey, he's ignoring this tag partner for
And this happens a couple times, but eventually Hacksaw does tag in VK when he wasn't paying attention. He was looking at the crowd or something. So VK comes in. He has a few European uppercuts on Regal, and then he tagged right back out to Duggan. And then later again, Duggan tries to tag VK, but he walks away. Hacksaw gets frustrated, so he tapes his fists and he punches David Taylor for the win. We will see if Duggan and Wall Street have better communication next match. We'll see. But the fifth match for Slamboree is Dirty Dick Slater with Rob Parker, and his partner is the Earl Robert Eaton versus Alex Wright and Disco Inferno.
Which is funny because Alex Wright and Disco do become a tag team at some point.
That's right, yeah. This is a quick match, and there's a spot where the ring is cleared of everybody but Disco, and then Disco Inferno does his dancing, which I just think is funny how corny he is. But this allows Dick Slater to sneak up and hit Inferno in the back of the head with his boot for the win. Again, I would have much preferred for the other team to have won this match.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so the sixth match we have is DDP and Barbarian versus Ming and Hugh Morris. And the announcers say DDP is back because remember he was fired and lost all his money. But he is back in WCW due to a benefactor. We don't know who that is.
And we won't find out.
No, yeah, I was saying, don't hold your breath. We still don't know who it is.
Yeah. But I will say, someone who I have liked more now than Barbarian. He does a lot of good stuff.
Ming for me as well, because Ming used to be someone, when they were on, I was like instantly bored. I was like, whatever, I don't care about Ming.
I don't think I ever liked that with Ming, but definitely for Barbarian.
Unfortunately, I was like that for Ming, but not anymore. I think it's just because I wasn't exposed to much of him.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. That's probably why I was like that Barbarian.
Now, the intrigue on this match also is to see what happens when Ming and Barbarian get in a ring. And if you know Ming and Barbarian, they definitely fighting each other.
Oh, yeah.
So they eventually get in a ring, and that's exactly what happens. And I will say during this match, DDP and Barbarian are working pretty well as a tag team.
They're working pretty well.
But later on, Hugh Morris hits No Laughing Matter on Barbarian, but DDP breaks it up. But I love No Laughing Matter, and that finish gets pretty over with the crowd here soon.
Yeah, well, because it's like, you usually don't see a dude that big just doing like a really good form moonsault. I mean, I was like Vader did it, but Vader's form isn't the best.
And now we got Ivar doing it, and he's over with me now. So eventually, the Faces of Fear kind of came back up during the match because Ming hits a big boot on DDP, and Barbarian hits it on Hugh Morris. So they kind of like are working together a little bit.
Yeah, and then Ming and Barbarian each get the pin. But ref counts 3. But for some reason, you said that Barbarian DDP won. But then they mentioned that a foot was under the ropes. So that's why the Ming's pin was not valid.
Yep, that just sucks, doesn't it? You hate to see it.
That's just a bad beat.
Yep, that's what we call a bad beat in the biz. So, but that is that. DDP and Barbarian advance. I think that one's probably the best match so far.
Yeah, I would agree. Next match is Big Bubba and Stevie Ray versus Scott Norton Ice Train.
And by the way, at this point, Big Bubba has joined the Dungeon of Doom. He's now dressed as a biker guy and not like a prison guard.
Yeah, he's changed his attire around.
And it seems like at this particular time, every week there's a new member of the Dungeon of Doom. That's what it seems like.
That trend will continue.
But if you thought a gimmick change or joining a new faction would help Bubba win a match, nope. Fire and Ice win this match when they Irish whip Bubba into Stevie Ray, and they hit a double clothesline on Bubba for the win.
My commentary for this match was standard match where nothing stood out.
There you go. That's a good summation. But we'll go to the 8th match, and it is Arn Anderson and Eddie Guerrero versus Macho Man and Ric Flair. But to start, Ric Flair's music plays, but he does not come out. So then they go to Savage's music. Savage comes out. He wants Ric Flair.
He's ready.
So then we go and try Ric Flair's entrance music again, and Ric Flair just walks out real quickly. He doesn't do his little glitz and glamour at all, and he comes up without Woman of Miss Elizabeth, which is probably a good call.
He's so crazy. So been up.
Yeah, so good call there, Flair. But then at the match, Savage's attention is, of course, turned to Flair. So Arn hits Savage from behind, and then Flair gets in the ring, and he starts beating up his own partner.
I thought it was funny. He just went to town on him, too.
Eddie Guerrero doesn't like this mockery of a tag team match. So he comes in, and he starts going after Flair to officially start the match. Woman and Miss Elizabeth slowly make their way to the ring. Flair hits Savage, and then he tags him in. And then Arn starts working over Savage for a little bit, and he hits a spine buster for a 2 count. But then Savage at one point tags Flair in, and Flair is about to start wrestling Eddie, but Savage comes in and attacks Flair from behind this time. So while Savage is attacking Flair, Arn goes in, and he DDTs Eddie Guerrero, his own tag team partner. He gets Savage off of Flair, and he throws him to a ring post, and then Flair gets the cover on Eddie for the win.
And then after Flair and Arn put the boots to Savage.
Then Ric Flair goes to get Miss Elizabeth. He brings her over to Macho Man. That way, she can slap Macho Man right across the face.
Yeah, then right after that slap, he gets DDT'd by Arn on the outside.
He didn't wait a millisecond to hit that DDT.
Yeah, he definitely clipped that. It's like slap DDT.
Yep, so we'll see what happens because technically Flair and Macho Man won this match. So is he going to be out next match? We will see. But we will move on to our next match. Not
a tag team match this time.
Nope. This is like one of the only singles matches. We have Brad Armstrong versus Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko has the new Cruiserweight title. He won the title on May 2nd, but it aired on the May 18th episode of WCW Worldwide. I couldn't even tell you what time. It's not even a Saturday show.
Commentary mentions that since Animal, Hawk, and Luger and Booker T are all, they're not in the match, that someone's got to receive a bye for the next round. They said that the drawing backstage, and the first round bye goes to Fire and Ice. So basically, Fire and Ice advanced to the Battle Royal.
Good job, boys. For this match, though, Armstrong and Dean Malenko, unfortunately, the crowd is pretty dead for it.
Oh, because they have no reason to buy into Brad Armstrong, which he was so underutilized.
I'm so upset. Like, he was such a good wrestler. And again, I didn't even see one match of his before we started this, and I've been impressed.
They could have done more with him, I feel.
I agree. But Malenko wins this match with a top rope gutbuster, and that's essentially that. It was okay, but there's, again, like you said, there's no investment in the match. It's just a random matchup and a card that's already won match 9. Why do we need this match?
Yeah, the crowd's already tired.
But we'll go to match 10.
We're now in the second round.
It's Dick Slater and Earl Robert Eaton versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan and VK Wall Street.
Yes. Now, at the start of the match, Hacksaw and VK just start wailing on each other, and then Dick Slater and Eaton attack them while they're attacking each other.
Yeah, you think to just let them kind of beat each other.
I know, right? Yeah, just let them keep doing it.
I don't know if you saw this, Jacob, but as VK Wall Street was doing his entrance, they cut to a cameraman the camera's pointed towards the crowd, and he's telling them to boo. So that way they can actually seem like there's a reaction to VK Wall Street.
Yeah, I didn't catch that, but WCW did that a lot.
And I'm sure WWE's done that too, but when we've been to shows, we have not seen that. Let's just get to it. Okay, so Hacksaw Jim Duggan is holding Eaton so that way Wall Street can punch him, but VK punches Duggan instead. So then Duggan punches VK, and Eaton schoolboys him for the win. And after the match, Duggan goes after Wall Street, but Wall Street runs away. So we will continue this feud, which started today, as far as I know.
And they will fight for a while.
Yeah, this is a matchup we see way too many times. So Slater and Eaton are going to the Battle Royal. So match number 11, we have Public Enemy versus Macho Man and Ric Flair. After Public Enemy's entrance, we go to Macho Man's entrance, but there's no Macho Man. Ric Flair's entrance happens, and he comes out with women and Miss Elizabeth, who were throwing money into the crowd.
I would like money to know that is.
Money. Of course, that's Macho Man's money. So Macho Man comes back out, and he attacks Ric Flair from behind as a team of security and WCW wrestlers come out to separate the two. And then Public Enemy wins the match by countout because for some reason the match started.
Yeah, that was so weird.
But they definitely said it was by count out. But they started the match before Flair and Macho Man even got in the ring. WCW, it isn't that hard to get this to be logically correct. So Public Enemy has now advanced to the Battle Royal. So match 12 is DDP and the Barbarian versus the Booty Man and Rick Steiner. And of course, the notable thing for this is that DDP is now in the same vicinity as the Booty Babe / Diamond Doll. So, of course, DDP is shown to be saying something to Diamond Doll. I don't exactly know what he says, but they didn't forget about that.
Yeah.
Like WWE sometimes does. They want us to forget that something happened, even though it shouldn't. But
like Smiling Shelton, they never.
But let's see the finish for this one.
It's a clusterfuck.
I would say what I have written down is Booty Man goes for a pin on Barbarian, but the ref is talking with Rick Steiner. So DDP comes in and he elbows Booty Man in the back of the head, and Barbarian covers him for the win. I was very happy that DDP and the Barbarian won because at this point it's still within Booty Man's push, but this essentially said, no, we're not going to make him that main event guy. This is it. So we're not pushing him anymore, it seems. So I was very glad that because I thought Booty Man might have actually won this thing, to be honest.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
I thought he was.
Well, once I heard the names, I was like, the only person that can really win is like DDP.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I thought it might have been too early. But let's go to match 13. We're almost done. We have Jushin Thunder Liger with Sonny Ono versus Conan for the U.S. title.
Of all United States title reigns I've seen, this is probably one of the worst because Conan is never around. He usually doesn't get a lot of promo time. You can't really invest in the character. There's not a lot to it.
There's also a terrible palm thrust sequence between Conan and Liger. I got a video of that. It's awful. I hate it. It looks so fake. Like Eddie Kingston machine chop. Yeah, so they both trade repeated palm shots to each other. It just looks bad. Let's get to the finish of this. Liger goes for a diving headbutt, but Conan gets his feet up, and then he hits his finisher, the power drive, for the win. Which Conan does have some nice power moves, which he starts using more when he starts becoming the version of Conan that we're more familiar with. But at this time, like I said, Conan's just kind of boring. He's really boring. He doesn't even have really a character at this point. And after that match, we actually do have an in-ring interview with Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Woman, and Miss Elizabeth. Gene tells Ric Flair he has caused so much havoc. Flair doesn't usually do this, but he stumbles to start the promo. He starts flubbing his words a little bit, but eventually he gets back on track, and he tells Savage that he and his crew are going to rock the socks off of Louisiana, and there's nothing Macho Man can do about it. Yeah, Mean Gene asks Flair what kind of party is it, and he's, like I said, he's part pajama, part lingerie. Flair then says he has some business to take care of. He tells Mongo that Mongo himself went from all-pro defensive tackle to making the damnedest mistake of his life. And he tells Mongo that he will not back off of Deborah until she gets out of his back pocket. Mongo comes out and he tells Flair that he has been writing some checks and Mongo's about to cash a few of them. Flair says Mongo made the mistake last week of cracking on him. He tells Mongo that they are wrestlers, and if he wants to get one of his teammates, he and Arn will take them on. Mongo tells Flair that his first-round choice is here tonight, and he brings out Kevin Green. Kevin Green comes out, and he wants a piece of Flair, but they get broken up. Green tells Flair that he is here and ready to rock and roll. Mongo tells Flair that they will take him on anytime, any place. So you can see where this is going. It's going to be Ric Flair, Arn Anderson versus Kevin Green and Mongo McMichael. And this will transition Mongo from being a commentator to a full-time wrestler.
So the Pepe outfits are going to be retired.
Yep. It's okay, Pepe. But next, we have the final of the Battle Bowl. It is the 8-man Battle Royal. Participants, just remind you, are Ice Train, Scott Norton, Earl Eaton, Public Enemy, DDP, Barbarian, and Dick Slater. So eventually, when we get down to the final 2 or 4 people, it becomes a standard match.
Yeah. It showed Diamond Dallas does get tossed over, but only one leg touches. But Schiavone does that like he should be eliminated. So I don't know if...
yes.
I don't know if for I guess WCW might be 1 foot.
The final 2 are Barbarian and DDP. Wouldn't you know it, the 2 tag team partners. The match goes on for a little bit. It's not too long, but Barbarian hits a big powerbomb on DDP. He almost wins the match there. Got 2.5 count. He goes for a diving headbutt, but misses. This allows if you miss a headbutt or miss anything against DDP, you know what's coming next. He hits a diamond cutter for the win. He wins the Lord of the Ring, and they even have fireworks go off. Like they're treating this as a big deal. And so DDP gets his big giant ring. So we're finally on match 15. But we do have an interview before the main event is with the Giant and Jimmy Hart. Gene tells Jimmy Hart that he will be handcuffed to Lex Luger for this next match. Hart says it's not too late, and he wants to convince Luger. He wants to talk to Luger because he does not want to be handcuffed to Lex Luger. The Giant says Sting isn't the top of the mountain because he is the top of the mountain. He says Sting can take what is his, and he tells Sting that he has been a thorn in his side, a rat under his bed, a cockroach in his apple pie, and tonight he will exterminate everybody.
No Giant rhymes?
No, not today. Gene does tell Giant that people are putting their money on Sting, and Giant says that anybody who bet on Sting is guaranteed to lose, and the only way to bet is to bet big. So the main event is Sting with Lex Luger versus the Giants with Jimmy Hart for the WCW Championship. Again, Luger and Jimmy Hart are handcuffed to each other. I think it's so crazy or so stupid that they had Lex. We know why they did it because it plays into the finish, but logically to have Lex Luger and Jimmy Hart be handcuffed to each other because the purpose of that is to make sure the other one doesn't interfere. But wouldn't you just say you're banned from the match?
Yeah, it would just be easier just to ban them, but we didn't book it that way, so as that.
The finish is so awkward and so overbooked to me. It just seems so fake because they have what position they have. Well, I will let y'all know what it is, but the position they had to put themselves in just seems so unlogical. So the Giant then, after Giant goes to splash Sting in the corner, but he misses, and this allows Sting to get in a few kicks.
He
and
ate
then he
that
hits,
ring post
for sure.
He loved doing that, where he was sold absolutely nasty at that spot.
So check it. This is the moment. Sting's got momentum here, so he kicks the Giant, and then he hits a few scorpion splashes on the Giant. He's just repeating them, and then during this, Luger and Jimmy Hart get on the apron, and they kind of are both around the corner, the turnbuckle. So the Giant gets up and he grabs Luger by the throat, and Sting hits 3 more stinger splashes to the Giant's back, and this lets the Giant let go of Luger. Sting gets the Giant down, and he goes for a stinger splash on Jimmy Hart, who was kind of laying on the turnbuckle.
Yeah, very
But
awkward.
as Sting is trying to hit Jimmy Hart to kind of do away with him, it looks like Luger pulls Jimmy Hart out of the way on purpose. So
Like
Sting misses, and he is dazed, and then he falls down right on the Giant's groin, and then he gets back on the top rope and he hits a splash for a 2 count. Sting gets another top rope splash, and then he actually gets a Scorpion Deathlock on the Giant. So I mean,
yeah, this
they're
is like
doing a
the
pretty good
closest-
job.
This is the closest, like, at least at this point, someone beating the Giant.
So when Sting gets a Scorpion Deathlock on the Giant, Jimmy Hart and Lex Luger are fighting over the megaphone, and they're still at the corner for whatever reason. And as they are fighting for it, they accidentally hit Sting, and then the Giant chokeslams Sting for the win.
Yeah, him with a megaphone as like Luger's pulling it away from Hart. So it looks kind of intentional.
But I didn't like the finish because this is the second time we did this megaphone thing to Sting.
It's a very similar ending.
But this was actually, this match was better than I thought it was going to be coming in, because again, they actually made you think Sting was actually going to win, possibly. So
Yeah.
I did like this match.
That was good. So positives. Looks like we're going to be pushing Diamond Dallas Page. Love it. Sting Giant was good.
Flair Macho Man, we continued that.
Flair Macho
feud.
Man storyline was good. The rest of it, you can take it.
Yeah, well, I will say one more thing. I did like the Steiners getting involved,
Okay, we'll give it credit. And also, you advanced the storyline with Sullivan and Benoit.
which, yeah, but still, that's not positive for me.
At least, I like some of their matches. Baz, Booty Man Dreadful, too many matches.
Way too many matches. 15.
Not enough star power.
Yeah, most of these matches, like you've been saying, just felt a waste of time. But that is Slamboree again. Really, the only thing that's a must watch is the main event. I
This
think.
is like a C minus, maybe even a D plus.
Yeah, if I had to rate out of 10, if uncensored was like a 2 or whatever we said,
It's like a 5.
this is probably 5.